Okay, things are looking pretty good. That prompt is completed. You can see it's just come into the very last steps now. So let's have a look and see what it's kind of been up to then. So we can kind of see it got to a point where it was kind of going through all of the steps, which is pretty good. It's fired up the local development server, which we'll have a look at in just a second. Now I could fire up in the system browser, but I think I'll go to Chrome there and I'll go and have a look and see what it's come up with. Now what's really nice about this is it's kind of saying, right, this is phase one, it's completed, and it's kind of walked through here all of the areas that it's kind of focused on, and it's completed. Now I'm not going to focus too much attention in terms of that, but I think it's also important that you get used to kind of having a read of kind of what it has done, because there could be steps in here that you may need to do yourself. So let's have a look here. It might need to come back to sort of setting up Supabase. Okay, we've got a home page, we've got an authentication placeholder, a demo. See some components. So here it's talking about setting up Supabase, so that's something we're certainly going to have to do, and we'll come and do that very, very shortly, and then we can verify some setup. So yeah, I think it's looking like it's got these actually already in place, these particular routes, to verify that we've actually got Supabase set up. So I think that what we might want to do is, before we execute these, let's head over to Supabase. Let's create our Supabase project. We can come back here. We can fill in these particular values here, because we're going to need to tell our project about our Supabase URL and our anonymous key. That'll be a good start. And that means that we kind of got that kind of bit set up. I think also as well, what we'll also do is we'll set up the MCP server as well for Supabase. This will give our agents something else to use in terms of working with our Supabase database, but we'll come and do that as well very, very shortly. So I think that's a good start. Let's just head over to Supabase now and let's work on that bit. Okay, so here we are then in Supabase. I've got no projects here at all. Please do head over to Supabase and grab yourself a free account. You'll be able to create yourself a free database, and we don't need to use any advanced features. Everything that we need will be absolutely fine here. So let's create the new project here. Let's give this a name. So I'm just going to call this community, like that. I'm going to generate a password, and I'm going to choose a region which is the most closest to me. I could say Europe, but I'm going to be a bit more specific here. I'm going to say West Europe, London, like that. And I'm just going to simply create that project. Now that will take 1 or 2 minutes to kind of create your project. We should see, let me just clear that out of the way. We should see that, in fact, it actually, to be honest with you, modern times a little bit more quicker than that, but no doubt it is doing some work behind the scenes. But you can see the project status is green, and that's really good. Let's move down into our project settings. We can see here that we kind of got our data API. We're going to kind of pull these kind of details here. So this is our URL here. We're going to grab that in just a second, and we're going to put that into our configuration. And we're also going to want to move over to our API keys as well, because we're going to need to make sure that we grab hold of our keys. I'll probably take just this legacy API key here for good measure, just so we know that it's working. But there is a new method for creating API keys, but we can come back and do that at a later stage. Let's focus on just using these. So let's move back over to general then. In fact, let's go over to data API. Let's grab this here. Let's move back over to Windsurf. Now it's referencing here that we've got this env local example here. This is now looking for our URL, so we can just put in our URL there. There it is. Let's move back over here and get our anonymous key. Let's go to API keys, click on legacy, and here's our anonymous key here. Just copy that. Let's move back over to Windsurf, and let's just paste that in there itself. So that is all good. Let's just accept that. That's all great. So that's now all saved. In fact, let's just save that there, and we are golden. So we've done that. We could then attempt to now kind of fire up here and connect to our application. So let's do that. Let's go over to localhost. Now I don't think I need to restart this. I'm just going to copy that particular URL there. Let's move over then to Google Chrome. Let's just paste that in there like that. Let's paste that. And it looks like our application is up and running. That's pretty good. Now, what else did it talk about? It said about going over to /demo to see the components or test Supabase. Now, I've got a feeling that I'm likely going to have to possibly restart here, but let's just see if this works here. Let's go to test Supabase. Okay, connection failed. Now, that is likely because I do need to restart, but at least that's working itself. Let's head back over here. Let's just let's go here and say restart server like that, because I've got the server currently running in this particular agent shell at the moment. So this will just kill it and restart it for me. So it shouldn't take 2 seconds. I could start this up by the command line, but there it goes. It's kind of doing its thing. Now if I head back over here, let's just refresh that. Okay, still coming up with connection failed. It could be that it can't actually get to these particular kind of settings here. So let's just play ignorant here, and let's just paste that in here. So it's likely that it can't actually get to those particular values here, and it could be that I've actually put it in the wrong place. Yeah, it's because I put it into the example. So I've got the local here. Oh, it's in there as well. Okay. Okay, we'll just leave that to stored out. Okay, it's restarting here. Let's go back here. Let's just refresh. Bingo, there we go. So we're all up and running. So there we go. Didn't have to think too hard and long about that particular issue. I've just got kind of the agent to kind of sort that out. Now the other little endpoint that we had here as well was the I think it was /demo, wasn't it? Let's head over there as well. Let's see if that's showing us our shader components. Look at that. There we go. We've got some nice looking components that we can use in our application. Of course, again, all this can be customized later, but it's certainly a good start. And then did I see that there was also an auth? But I don't think that would work yet. Okay, it's kind of got like a kind of a placeholder there. So I think from a phase 1 perspective, I think we are good. Now phase 2, if I move back over to ChatGPT, let's have a look at phase 2. If I move up here, phase 2 is likely going to now require our where it's kind of doing tables here. So here is defined as an auth configuration. So this is a good point where we can now set up our MCP server. So let's now head over to Supabase. Let's start there, and I'll walk you through that particular process and getting that configured in Windsurf as well. And then we'll come and execute phase 2. Okay, so we are logged into Supabase on my other tab. I've just brought up another tab in Google Chrome. It's because it's obviously a shared session here. It knows who I am. So what I need you to do is go to Google, type in Supabase MCP setup, and then click on the link, and it'll take you to this particular web page. This is going to be super important. Now, don't worry about this bit at the front here. We're not worried about any of this, but we're going to just scroll down here and do this manually. And we are going to want to take this particular whole configuration file. So let's just copy that, and I'll explain a little bit about kind of how all of this kind of sets up. Now in Windsurf, we just need to move up to that little kind of almost like plug icon there. Just select that and then click on the little kind of the settings, almost like settings icon there. Just click that, and then this brings us into this config file. And I'm just going to replace all of this with that, what I just pasted in there. This is great. This is going to be our MCP server. You can see here, this is the reference to the MCP server that we're going to use. Now we are going to need an authorization token, and we're also going to need a project reference. Let's go and grab those. Let's move back over to Supabase. Now the project reference is going to be quite straightforward. We go back into our settings here or something like that. In fact, let's go to make it easy. Let's go to Data API. You can see here that is that reference. So let's just copy that. Let's go over here and let's just paste that in here like that. We're just going to kind of hard code these values in here like that. Let's move back over here, go back to the help information. There's a very, very handy little link here called access tokens under the CI environment. If you just select that, we can then create this access token, which will give everything the permissions that's needed by, for the MCP server to kind of get access here. You can see I've already got one called Windsurf here, but we're going to generate a brand new token. Press that, and I'm just going to type this in here. So it's going to be Windsurf 2, something like that. Now I'm not too conscious here about security for this particular walkthrough, but of course if you are, you can kind of expire this particular token after a period of time. I think I'm just going to keep it on 30 days for now. That's fine, and I'm just going to generate that token, and then that token is going to be presented at the top here. So just copy that. If you refresh this page, by the way, that will disappear and you won't be able to get to it, and you have to generate a new token. Now if I go back over here and I go to authorization, let's take that out here like that. Let's just paste those in there like that, and I've got now my token. So I just save that, and we should be good. Now, I'm just going to close down all other files here. I'm going to close others like that, so it keeps it a little bit cleaner. Now, if I move up to this little connection icon, you can see that I've now gone green. That is really, really important. If you don't see green there, then you know there's possibly a configuration issue here or something isn't quite right. This now confirms that we have got our MCP server set up. But if you just want to validate that, you can go down here and you can go in here and you can say chat, and you can say check my Supabase MCP is set up, like that. Now that's going to go away. It's going to kind of just run a few little checks here. It's going to make probably a couple of remote calls here just to make sure our MCP server is set up. So it's important to set that to be chat here because I'm really just having that conversation. Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I think that is talking gibberish. I actually think it is set up. Do you know, I'm going to make an assumption here. I think that's gone in, I've never ever had that before actually, and I've never done this any differently before. And I know that my MCP server is correctly set up here. I can see I've got a connection. I'm really quite happy. But you could also go into the, I think it's the debug console. No, I think it's the output here. And you can filter down to windsurf here. And this here would tell you whether you've got an issue here with your MCP server. Yeah, so I've got no problems here in my MCP server. So this is actually lying to me. So we're gonna ignore that. It should have come up and actually said no, everything's all good. I'm really happy with that. Let's just close that down. Cool. So let's go back to Supabase because there's just one other thing that I just want to make sure that we do here. So let's go to Supabase here, and we need to go down into, I think it is authentication option here, and we need to go to policies. In fact, sign in providers here. We want to turn this confirm off. So when a new user registers for our application, we don't want to have to confirm by an email. We just want to make sure that is toggled off. So just save that. Make sure you hit the save button. I tend to forget that myself sometimes. So there we go, that's all successfully changed. So I think we're in a good place. Our Supabase project is ready for us to start moving into phase 2. If I now move back over here, we can close the MCP server down. So we're hoping now that the MCP server will naturally get kicked into life when we start doing something to do with Supabase here on the right hand side. So let's just move back over to terminal and let's move that down here. There we go, not too worried about that. So let's now move back over to ChatGPT here. Let's go over here and let's look at now at phase 2. So I'm going to take this phase 2 here, just copy all of this like that, copy that, move back over to our markdown converter, just paste that in there like that. Let's copy that here, move back over here to windsurf. Now let's create a new file here. So this is going to be phase-2.md like that. Let's paste our markdown in here. So we are pretty much good to go. So I'm going to take that off chat. I'm going to move back to code here and I'm going to say, right, implement phase 2. Hit enter. And I'm hoping that we'll get a series of tables created. We'll get hopefully that authentication part working, which means that we'll get the UI updated with all of that. You can see that my tasks have now been defined. So look at that. It's even pointed out about the MCP tool here. Now, this is where we want it to happen, right? We don't want to, but I'm pretty confident that our MCP is working. So, okay, it looks like it's looking good. So let's leave that to play out. That's going to take a couple of minutes and I'll hopefully not touch it. And then we'll see what it comes up with.